Hello and welcome to Custom Gamer. My name is Daz and this is the show where we talk about level design while playing cool maps. Today we're playing a Quake map called Conference of the Shamblers by Skacky. This is his first full Quake release after releasing just a single speed map previously. Skacky is however a veteran of the Thief modding community. I believe he's released a fair few Thief maps over the years. A game series which I still need to play all the way through. I feel very bad having not done it, considering they're revered as such classics. But yeah, so he certainly knows his way around a brush-based engine, and it certainly shows in this map. The quality is very high, and it's very old school. You can even tell there's a little bit of a Thief influence here. The map is very vertical. Lots of kind of open top areas where you look up and just see the skyline stretching out above you. It's very cool to see. It's also very hard. This video probably would have been out a few days earlier. This map gave me a lot of trouble on hard skill. I finally managed to record a decent demo on it. So let's go and have a look, shall we? So one thing that does strike you almost instantly about this map is the vertical nature of it, even in this first room here. It's very tall ceilings, lots and lots of detail on the way up. A lot of the areas do kind of bring your eye upwards, and when you do look up you see this massive kind of cityscape above you. Unfortunately you never really get to go up there and see what it's actually like up there. You get the impression from all the brushwork up by the sky that you're in some kind of much larger city type area, but you never really get to explore up there and see it, like from above. See all the rooftops stretching out above you. That would have been really cool. But as it stands, it's just a very nice view when you look up in just about any area in this map. Now, as you can see, this uses the Quoth mod, so you will need to download that to play this map. Again, Quoth just adds a bunch of new weapons and enemies and all kinds of toys for mappers to use to make the maps a little bit more interesting. This map also uses Kel's Nave texture set, which is a fantastic set full of Quake vibes. Great colours, all these kind of arcane bookcases everywhere. Really great texture set. Skacky uses it very well here. Now I mentioned in the intro that this map was very hard, and I wasn't joking. On hard skill, finding a lot of secrets in order to stay alive is basically required. There's a lot of things like mega health and armour, which you're really going to need if you're as bad as I am at this game. I managed to get through it in the end though. One thing that's really interesting to note is that this is the kind of second, or if you like, bug fix release for this map. The first version, I didn't actually find a single secret on my way through, and I was actively searching every single room. And that's pretty rare. I mean, normally just by accident you can find one or two secrets in a Quake map. Generally they're not that well hidden, but in the first release of this, I literally didn't find any. It wasn't even a case of seeing a secret and not being able to work out how to get there. I literally didn't find any. And I want to say that's a problem with the map, not the fact that I'm bad. Because again, normally you can find at least one secret. I generally think that secrets are always best when players can find them through the use of visual language in the level. So for instance, teaching the player that certain colours indicate secrets, or you know, there's kind of an odd one out thing in the environment, things like that which players can grab onto. So I just want to say that the visual language was a lot weaker in the initial release of this map. However, in this version it feels much better. In this demo you're seeing here, I find 10 out of 13 secrets. It feels much better. Some of them are still very well hidden, which is fine, but with careful observation of the environment you can find them, which is excellent. Now while the map does look fantastic in just about every single area, I think it does lack in other areas. For instance, ambient sounds. This area is completely void of any kind of sound whatsoever. I really dislike this in just about any game really. You never want your environment to be completely silent, unless that is the exact effect you're going for. For instance, perhaps some kind of crescendo event, you want a little bit of silence to kind of build the tension. But for the most part, you really want to avoid just having a completely silent map like this. Even just a tiny little ambience in the background really helps to keep the map feeling alive. So yeah, I wasn't too fond of that. The other issue I want to talk about in this map, that you're seeing here really, once we get to the other side, is that there's a lot of symmetry in gameplay. Now, symmetry in the environment is something that's to be expected because it just feels natural that a lot of the environment is symmetrical. That's just kind of how you build things. But symmetry in gameplay feels quite lazy, I think. And this is a great example of it here. So we cleared out one side, and on the other side there's the exact same environment, which is okay, I'm not worried about that, but it's the exact same enemies as well, and they're all in the exact same places. And the gameplay is exactly mirrored on this side. It feels completely redundant, which is really unfortunate. So as a player I feel like I've already done this, and it's because I have. It's the same enemies, the same exact locations. Not really a fan of that. Luckily this is the most egregious area for this. It generally doesn't really happen like this again afterwards. There are other parts of the map where you kind of explore two different wings, but they are very different. But it's just a shame that this had to happen here, because it does feel a little bit lazy, unfortunately. I do like this ambush here. Again, this reminds me of the early ambush in Horde of Zendar by Sok, where you open a door and there's a bunch of Hell Knights and Knights come pouring out, and you only really have, you know, a nail gun and a double barrel shotgun to deal with it. What it does is it forces the player to retreat because they just can't kill the enemies fast enough in order to stand their ground. Now, upon using that wind tunnel, we are transported to the middle of the map here, and this is a hub room for the gold and silver key. As you can see, there's doors on each side with gold and silver keys respectively. The thing I like about this is that Skacky pushes you up through a wind tunnel. It's a great example of a push here. So the player completes the first area of the map. There's literally no point going back there, so Skacky uses a wind tunnel to push the player into this room, which then locks behind them and they can't go back. So it helps push the gameplay forwards into this new set of areas. And once we clear out all the enemies, the door ahead opens. Now again here, this is another very vertical room. If you look up, there's a whole bunch of roofs and buildings above you. Lots of ogres on ledges raining grenades down on you. All this good stuff. Here you can see to progress we have to find two switches in order to open this grate. Now this is the area I was talking about where you have two kind of symmetrical looking areas, but the gameplay is completely different in each side. So you go through a teleporter, and now we're in a completely unique environment for each side of this part of the map. I really like the use of all the bookcases here. Again, it's a classic staple of this texture set, but Skacky does a great job using it. There's even a couple of secrets where you can kind of spot books in the bookcase that can be pressed in order to reveal secrets. That's all I'll say about that. There's probably a few I've missed in this map. They're very well hidden, you do have to go looking for them. This is an area where you can encourage a lot of infighting between the ogres and the Hell Knights. Infighting is a great tactic to use in this map. Again, it's pretty hard on hard skill, so if you can encourage them to kill each other and they ignore you, then of course that's fantastic. I'm not really too fond of this Vor placement here, if I'm honest. Vors can be fairly tricky to get right because they can encourage gameplay like this where you just kind of hover around a doorway and then retreat up as soon as they fire. I always feel that Vors work best when you're kind of already in an environment and you're in a fight and then you hear a Vor and you kind of know that you're going to have homing projectiles coming at you any second now. I think that if you introduce a Vor first, then the player just adopts a mentality of that, you know, hide around a corner and shoot it. Which isn't the most fun gameplay, I think. So there's a secret around here that was kind of hinted at on the way down. We killed those ogres on the ledges in the stairs behind us. And if you hit that book on the shelf there, you can get yourself a hammer, which is just an upgraded melee basically. And you can get yourself a mega health and a bunch of rockets, so it's a really nice secret to find there. Another interesting thing about the dual route choice you have here in order to open that grate is that if you come this way first, you can grab yourself a rocket launcher early through a secret area, which is really handy for the next area. So I definitely recommend coming this way first and finding that secret. This from here, I always felt like something was going to happen here, like a big ambush or some other kind of event, but because it just kind of stands out from the rest as being different and unique, but nothing really happens there. You pick up the green armor and that's about it. So this is a fairly good arena. It starts off simple enough, just kill the ogres above you, dodge their grenades. But once you activate the first plinth here, it gets a little bit more interesting. Another kind of unique feature about this map is that you get these kind of slits in the walls that have really long sight lines to other parts of the map in them. Generally, whenever there's a button or a plinth or something that you can push, there's normally a window where you can see other parts of the level behind it, and you can see a really long distance. I suppose it is like a recurring kind of motif of the whole map, is that corridors tend to be very long and very straight, so you have incredibly long sight lines through some parts of the map. When you have these windows looking into other parts of the level, it kind of combines together to form this giant passage that you can just look down. There's a couple of great windows like this. This is one of them where you kind of look through and you can just see the path going for miles in the opposite direction. This is the secret I was talking about. Really nice secret. You can grab yourself a rocket launcher, and on the other side you can grab yourself a yellow armor. Excellent bit of survivability, which I'm going to need later on. So that's the first button pressed. Now we have to go back to the central area and into the other side. Of course, we have to fight through a horde of enemies in order to get back there. Would be pretty dull if this area wasn't repopulated. I love the use of spotlights in the environment. There's lots of kind of little lights all over the floor and ceiling that have these spotlights cast up the walls, especially on things like bookcases and various pillars. It looks fantastic. I mean, visually the map is lovely. There's a lot of contrast between light and shadow, which I like a lot. Interesting details have been picked out with things like spotlights. It's a great look. As we cross that bridge, you get a nice sneak preview of where we're going next, which I like a lot. So this area we're going into now is definitely a lot easier with the rocket launcher. I suppose you could say that about any map, it gets easier once you get the rocket launcher. I think it's especially true for this map because This area has a lot of interesting combat in it. You've got this giant outside area here which looks great. It's a little dark though, honestly, and as you're going to see in a moment, causes a few problems with the secret here. Well, it might just be the fact that I can't jump properly in Quake. So you can see a little lit passage down there. And a quick jump, and you should just be able to jump down there, but unfortunately I kind of screw up the jump. Yeah, it's made a little bit more difficult with the fact that the ground you're jumping off of is a bit slanted. Another interesting thing is that once you grab the item in the secret there, it's actually you have to make a very precise jump in order to land back on the platform and continue forwards. If you miss that jump, you fall to your death, and it's very easy to do so. I think I would have preferred it if there had been some kind of ledge you can walk across to get more safely back into the level. So this combat I like. Unfortunately, when you ride the platform in the centre up in order to hit the button, on the way back down the combat isn't as good because you're kind of safe from all the enemies down here that spawn in. It feels a little bit wrong, unfortunately. But right now we have to find a button to lower this gate. Talk about the next combat in a moment, because this arena is absolutely brutal. I died here so many times on hard, it's absolutely brutal. So, pro tactic is to kill the fiends as fast as possible. The tricky part is not actually the fiends, it's all the knights that come out of the side walls and surround you. So many times I either killed myself with a rocket through hitting a knight in the face as it ran in front of me, or just getting trapped by knights and then eviscerated by fiends. It's a really nasty arena. So we can ride this platform up now and hit the plinth, which will open the doors in the centre for us, which is great. I really like this slow lift, like the reverse Ramiro. Unfortunately, the combat on the way down feels a bit broken, so all the enemies that are spawned in here are absolutely no threat to you whatsoever. You get a couple of ogres, 2 fiends, 2 hell knights. This would be pretty scary if they could actually do something to you, but they can't. I feel like there should have been a bunch of flying enemies or something teleported in here that would actually be a threat to you, because you can just kind of take them all out at your leisure on the lift. The fact that the Quake AI isn't the best in the world, even when you get to the bottom there's still not much of a threat to you. They just kind of derp against the side of the ledge that you're on. Which is a bit of a shame. Now we can proceed forwards and grab the super nail gun. Very handy, deal with these Vorlings, annoying little bastards. Now we're getting to like the later third of the map, where things start to get a lot more hectic. This Shambler likes to play hide and seek for a little while. Now we've got a fairly nice arena here. Nice and open, which I like. Lots of room to move around. And the end of this arena has a kind of interesting organic component. I think it's like one of the only parts in the level that does this, but it reminds me a lot of Quake 3 Arena. You probably see what I mean when you get a decent look at it. There's kind of a mouth going into the wall with some fleshy bits coming out of it. It looks like it's lifted almost directly from a Quake 3 map. It's very cool. I just feel like it doesn't really fit in aesthetically with the rest of the map. Again, it's like the only area that does stuff like this, as far as I know anyway. It just kind of stands out as... I mean, it looks cool, but doesn't really fit with the rest of it. So grab the silver key and all hell breaks loose. I like the Vor on the far side, because you have plenty of time to avoid its Vor balls, but it's a little bit out of reach. So now that we've got the silver key, we can go back to the main atrium where the key doors are and proceed to the silver key room. Well, this is a fairly long map. My first attempt on all the way through took about 35 minutes. Managed to get it down to about 27 for this demo. Hopefully I'm keeping you entertained through all this. I think these night gaunts are the kind of enemy that should have been teleported in when you're on that slow platform. They're actually a danger to the player. And we have to deal with this Super Hell Knight. I have no idea what you call these guys, but I'm just going to call it Super Hell Knight because it's what he is. So the yellow particles denote an invulnerability field that only drops when he's about to attack, so you have to kind of time a hard-hitting attack for when he starts playing his attack animation. Interesting enemy. Works great in small doses, I think. Now here's another rocket launcher that you can pick up. I'm unsure how you're actually meant to get this normally. I mean, I just decided here to rocket jump after I see the red armor at the end of this passage here. Maybe there's another way, like a secret button that lowers the platform or something, but rocket jump seemed to do the trick here. I was very reluctant to do that though, because again, health and armor, especially on hard mode in this map, is a fairly precious commodity. Now I think everyone's ambush sense should be tingling when you see a red armor out in the open like that, and you'd be absolutely right. Now there is a quad damage secret in this area. It's kind of up to the player when you want to use it, which is kind of interesting. There's a lot of nasty ambushes around here that it could be useful for. It's kind of a thing where you have to kind of use it in hindsight. Kind of second time through the map when you know when best to use it. I certainly probably didn't do that here. I should have cleared out this area first and then used the quad damage for the next arena that you're going to see here in a moment. But it's fairly effective here as well. You get to give a whole bunch of knights with it. It's always good fun. The next arena, in order to get the gold key, is fairly nasty. So it's fairly open, but there's absolutely no cover, so you just have to keep moving and hope that no Shamblers appear, which you're going to be disappointed if you hope that. Now one thing I did like is that enemies teleport into the same place each time. So you can telefrag enemies, as you saw there I stood where the Hell Knight teleported in and managed to telefrag him. I think that's a cool tactic that you don't really see enough in arena maps like this. If you are using teleporting to spawn in arena waves, it can be a fairly interesting mechanic, teleporting in the same place each time. So that gives the player a choice to position themselves on the teleport pad and kill whatever it is that's coming in. I think that's a cool idea. And luckily we get a plasma gun, so these Shamblers tend to evaporate fairly quickly. But yeah, it's a very nasty arena. I died here the first time going through this, but a little bit of hindsight, you'll be just fine. And we can grab the gold key. So now we can head back to the central atrium and continue. A couple of side passages here you can explore around to pick up some extra ammo and supplies. Definitely recommended. I really feel like there's a secret around here as well that I missed. Interestingly enough, this area looks over the first area of the map. There's actually a nail gun secret back there that I didn't find. No idea how to get up there. That's always terrifying when you hear a Shambler aggro sound but you can't actually see them. Yeah, that gets me every time. And after that horrible night ambush, we get to the final area of the map, which again has a lovely kind of upper half that, again, unfortunately, you can't really get to. It's kind of eye candy only, but it does look fantastic. I'd love to see, in perhaps Skacky's next map, actually being able to explore the rooftop kind of areas, getting a lovely kind of view of the city laid out. That would be really nice. So, just from the way this area is laid out, I think alarm bells should be ringing somewhat, because it looks suspiciously like a giant boss arena, doesn't it not? And there's plenty of ammo, mega health, rockets, a rocket launcher. Yep, any seasoned Quake player should be shitting themselves just about now. I like the fact that you get to explore around the arena before actually encountering any enemies. That's always a plus in my book. Lets the player get used to the environment and the layout before throwing them in at the deep end. So, the trick with surviving this arena is actually finding the quad damage secret, which is hidden in this area here. There's a little button you can shoot. Again, a red button. Now, this arena can be very difficult without this, because we have to fight a Vermis. And it's got a nice entry animation here. Very cool. And the plasma cannon does very short work of it. These enemies can be extremely deadly in Quake. Luckily we can take it out quickly with this secret, which opens the exit teleporter room and lets us finish the map. So that was Conference of the Shamblers by Skacky. Really great first release. A couple of issues with gameplay and visual language, which have mostly been fixed in this re-release. I'm really looking forward to his next map. It looks fantastic. If you follow me on Twitter, I've been retweeting his tweets showing it. It's kind of very kind of white Persian or Indian style temple map. Looks fantastic. Really looking forward to seeing that. In other news, I must apologise for cancelling the Left 4 Dead 2 with viewers last night. I got called away to a friend. But I'll be rescheduling, perhaps even for tomorrow, Wednesday. That could be quite fun. Video news, I'll be doing Perplexity by Miga fairly soon. That's another really cool map, some interesting puzzles. I'll see you next time.